So many times I played the fool and man held below. I'm too fly to be sitting here lonely, feeling for the ride, wanna put it on me. When you get inside and when I grind it, I can't deny it, feels so exciting. Isn't it?
All right. Is everyone here? Ants!
Yes, sir!
Roaches!
Yeah, what of it?
Rodents!
Let's get this cheese!
Alright, come on everyone, settle down, please. Look, we all know why we're here. We'll be eating like queens when we're through with this. That pantry's finally ours. Nobody can stop us now. Charge! No, there's no way. It can't be. It's Old Colony! Old Colony Pest Control. Veteran-owned Massachusetts, Rhode Island-based operation with everything you could dream of for your pest needs. Equipped with top-of-the-line gear to guarantee your home is protected and staying healthy. Phone number is 774-400-5993. Give them a call for the backup you need. Tell them that General Red Revere sent you. They handle anything from ants, roaches, ticks, mosquitoes, rats, and more.
No wildlife or termites at this time.
Hey, watch it, buddy. We're marching.
We begin in the Pendleton Whiskey Buck and Shoot.
Ryan Solo has a lot of intensity.
The kick on this one.
Yeah.
Get to the 8. Come on. All day long.
A better job, a better home, a better life. Who hasn't wished for these things, worked for them, and sought a place where they had a better chance of becoming real? For generations, Brockton has welcomed those seeking something better. From those who came in search of opportunity to today's multicultural population that makes us the most diverse community in all of New England. Brockton is a place where homes are more affordable, communities closer, where a strong and talented workforce fuels the success of businesses big and small, and the vision of a more diverse and equitable America is being realized every day. It's where ideas take root, businesses grow, communities thrive, new beginnings unfold, and the promise of a better life is kept. Brockton, Massachusetts, where better begins.
Time to grow up. You got a problem with your self-esteem and ego. Oh, here we go again. It's time to grow up now. Yeah, What? Yeah, see, I ain't never been betrayed by an enemy.
Every time I see a bad chick, I lick my lips. Every time she move them hips, I lick my lips. Every time I see her with Kylie Jenner lip gloss, lick my lips.
Yeah, I'ma run it up. Why the fuck you think you flexing with $100?
Yeah, can I talk to you for a second?
This is Motion with Randy.
Yeah, you see me? Bring it, come get me. Ass fat, but the waist so slimmy.
Quisiera estar contigo y recordar de nuevo todo lo que hicimos, cuánto nos queremos.
I came to do the damn thing, cause I do the damn thing, so I guess the damn thing is getting done. I ain't popping champagne, this ain't a campaign, I ain't running, no, actually you should run. No comparing, clearly you can't hang, such a damn shame, man, you ain't never won. Life ain't a fair game, I'm just an airplane flying through, maybe you should see if you can get you one.
We're out of time. Don't say goodbye.
Should I get rid of the in-ass flexing?
Nobody knows what waits for the dead. Nobody knows what waits for the dead.
Ennis flexin'? Did he say that? They're never letting him out of that lease. Every single inch of that thing is customized. Spoiler, brake calipers, engine covers. I begged him not to get it. Begged him.
Hold on, wait. She said she begged me?
Woo! Better buy this right now. I swear to God, if you don't buy this I will go somebody with this exact same car. Do not test me. Woo! Oh, buy this My mother.
I'm sorry.
Woo! That's how I felt.
Can you dig it? Can you dig it? Can you dig it?
This is blasphemy. This is madness. This is the proof.
All right, I had to get some stuff. I'm working on some stuff here, getting it in real quick. It's your boy Sinister One, broadcasting live from the City of Champions. You are watching the booth and listening to the booth, and I'm just doing some last minute production here. Hold on, let me just do this right here, and Ken should be proper. Well, somewhat proper. I'm still going to be working on it and getting it straight real quick here. But it's your boy, Sinister One, broadcasting live from the City of Champions. You are listening to the booth, watching the booth. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. I got to thank my guest from last week, Infamous Ma. And it's first Tuesday. Got a lot of stuff to talk about, and I got it. We're straight. I'm all set. I won't be upset and pissed off. Somebody said last week, hey, you had some issues with the show last week. You were pissed off, huh? I was like, is it that obvious when I'm pissed off on this show when there's production issues behind the scenes? My face or something must show when I'm pissed off. But I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Again, I had a great guest last week, BBM's Infamous Ma. She was on the show. She gave me this Infamous Squad shirt. Bam, holding it down, showing support. And we've got a lot of stuff that we're going to be talking about tonight. Most of the stuff that these guys will be on for is halfway through the show. But I got to get into my sponsors. Let's get into Michael Douglas Barretto, MDB Electronics. If you got a controller that needs to be fixed, Michael Douglas Barretto is where you go. Also, music available now. Viana Marie, everywhere, streaming, live. Make sure you jump on it. You also saw this Sunday, she will be at the all-day Valentine's Day Affair performing live in Pawtucket, Rhode Island. Tactical target systems. If you need those targets to go down to the range, you can grab those for Don Robinson, tacticaltargetsystems.com. Also, ilovebostonsports.com for those shirts that you see those people supporting the show wear. And before we get into News Booth, I'm going to let my guys introduce themselves. I'm going to start with my man up in the upper left-hand corner. Let Robert Resnick introduce himself.
Good night, everybody. Pleasure to be here.
Ken Diesel.
Hello, everyone. Hope everyone's keeping safe and warm, and hope everyone's basements are dry and no burst pipes.
Yeah, we had that cold weather swing through here, that Artic below zero weather with the 50 minus wind chill. It got to like minus 100 up in New Hampshire in the mountains. And it was pretty bad. It was pretty hectic for that night into the day. I gotta say, it hasn't been that cold like that in like 6 years, they said. So we're here, we're doing good, and we're ready to go. News Booth. Kicking it off here in Brockton Hospital. 9-alarm fire. A transformer caught on fire. This is right around the corner from my house. I'm actually my house is so close to the hospital. I'm on the hospital grid. I never lose power unless that transformer or that power goes offline. It was a 9-alarm fire. Thankfully, nobody was injured. Nobody was killed, but they did have to evacuate patients that were there at the hospital to other surrounding hospitals. I could only imagine what the logistics are of having to transfer patients to different places in the area. Everybody's probably receiving some type of code that the patients are on their way. And it's been crazy. It's been crazy since 11 o'clock this morning. Grand Wolf Lodge, which you guys know is the indoor water park, they just announced their biggest location to open here in New England at Foxwoods, Connecticut. Can't wait. 2024, another place to bring the kids. And irresponsible parents, it's a nice place to drop your kids off while you're gambling in the casinos. Yep, I'm going down to the craps table, kids. You can go to the Great Lodge. Spend the entire day in the water park while I'm at the craps table. Losing the house. Turkish president declares emergency. Turkey-Syria experienced an earthquake today. 7,200 dead. And the reason why these earthquakes are so bad and so tragic, and Rob's been over there in that area. There's no codes or anything of that sort like we have here. Nothing's built to code. And even if they have codes over there, it's not like us. It's not meant to withstand disasters and things of that sort. So usually when you see these catastrophic things like earthquakes in Turkey and Syria, these third world countries, it's always going to be disastrous because, now let Rob explain, these are countries that they don't have that infrastructure. Just can't.
You just said it. They don't have the infrastructure. They just have a different set of codes, and that's the way that's how it's built. So.
And it's sad, because there's really no need if they, took a page out of some of the, the bigger countries and the way we operate. It would be much better if they did it the right way. Also, Elon Musk wants to start charging businesses $1,000 a month to be verified with the blue check mark. You know what that's because? It's because he's losing money, people. And JP Morgan already snatched up Bed Bath & Beyond because they defaulted on their loan to come out of bankruptcy. Elon Musk, I told people, he wasn't liquid enough to buy Twitter. He borrowed the money from JP Morgan to buy Twitter. JP Morgan is going to come calling for that money because he's not making any money. He's not able to pay JP Morgan back. If he can't pay JP Morgan back, guess what happens, people? Tesla and SpaceX, they're going to start coming after those stocks. They're going to start coming after those companies. That's how business works, people. So don't be surprised. He's trying to do everything he can. Unfortunately, I don't even think he can get anybody to buy Twitter if he was to try to sell it. To be honest, I don't think that anybody would buy it. He made an offer to Trump, and Trump's got True Social. Trump's not going to buy it, so who knows? Scientists are recreating the woolly mammoth. They've now unlocked the DNA or whatever they needed to unlock. But anyway, they've unlocked it, and they plan to revive the woolly mammoth in 4 years and put the woolly mammoths into the Arctic region of this world to revive the ecosystem for this planet. All I got to say to these guys, these scientists is,
do something else! Do something else! That's
do
it!
something else.
That's all we want!
Have we not seen the movie Jurassic Park, Ken?
Holy! I was singing the exact same thing. Has anyone not seen Jurassic Park?
You start messing with DNA and things of that sort. Every sci-fi movie where things come back that shouldn't be back. Yeah, you want a woolly mammoth. It's cute. It's cuddly. It's woolly. You hear the word woolly mammoth, you think of Snuffleupagus from Sesame Street. But here's the thing. This is where bad things lead to. We don't need it. In the legal booth, I'm sure Ken's been hearing a lot about this story. The defense attorney for Duxbury mother, Lindsay Clancy, who killed her 3 children, while the father of the kids had went out for just a mere 20 minutes to pick up her meds. She strangled all 3 of her children. All 3 children died from being strangled. She then jumped out of a window, tried to kill herself, but she didn't die. She actually was seen in court today via Zoom. And what I'm not sure if Ken might have heard how this turned out today, but I do know that her defense attorney, who's very well known in this area, is claiming that she was over-medicated and the family was living a life of a nightmare. They had just seen a judge last week to try to get help because her postpartum, she didn't have postpartum depression. She had postpartum psychosis, they're saying.
Yeah, okay. Let me stop you right there. That's what the family is claiming. However, this couple of things. Number one, the woman was under the care of a psychiatrist. He did not diagnose her with postpartum psychosis, and postpartum psychosis is a definite form of psychosis. It's got a very narrow definition.
Mm-hmm.
I understand he's being over-medicated, he's doing his job, but being over-medicated does not cause you to become psychotic. Over-medicated causes you to become fat, medical issues, or lethargic. So it's a nice thing, but he better get in some real experts to tell him what to do. And postpartum psychosis is a very, very difficult thing to prove. It happens in such rare occasions. You have to have a pre-existing mental condition, which and then this causes it to be worse. So good luck with that is all I can say.
And a lot of eyes are on this case, Ken. There's been a lot of cases in Massachusetts that brings attention, and this story is, it's starting to go nationwide. And it's just an all around tragedy. It's sad because it looks like that this family was looking for help, and that's the sad part. It looks like they were looking for help with whatever issues she was having with her mental health. And, I've seen some people they're now coming after the father saying, well, if you knew it was this bad, why did you leave her alone with the kids for the 20 minutes to pick up her script in this day and age where you can have scripts delivered to the house for the most part. So I see he's under fire for that.
I heard he went out to get food, not his prescription. And also, that's not true. Most medications are not, you cannot deliver it.
Oh, that's right. If she was on some type of, yes, you're right. Yes, she might have had
psychotics, something like that. You need to go there and present a picture ID.
That's right. That's right. I just thought of that. She might have been on something where you need to show that ID. Right. So it's a tough one, and I know you've been hearing about it, so I wanted to kind of mention it. I know it's tough. Square, did you want to chime in on this one a little bit?
I don't think I have much to add. I mean, obviously, you've got the relationship between the insanity defense, mental illness when it's not a legal defense, and, you know, people who commit crimes not because of a mental illness or despite a mental illness, but unrelated. You know, there can be complicated layers. And I don't know enough about this particular case. It's just multiple things can be true.
And it's tough. Like I said, she was seen today. Today was her first day appearing in court via Zoom. And I was hearing that I didn't get a chance to read it, but I was hearing it didn't go well. So we'll see. We'll have to keep an eye on that. Entertainment booth. I actually have Viana Marie on next week, so I'm kind of light on entertainment booth. I only have one topic in the entertainment booth, and that is rest in peace, Melinda Dillon, 83 years old. She was the mother in The Christmas Story, which is one of my most favorite holiday movies of all time. But a lot of people don't realize Melinda Dillon, if I'm not mistaken, was also in another big movie that a lot of people don't remember or mention, and that is Close Encounters of the Third Kind with Richard Dreyfuss. Yep. She was actually Richard Dreyfuss's wife when he was going crazy and seeing these visions, and he was making stuff out of mashed potatoes and stuff. Yep. And great movie. But Melinda Dillon was actually the wife, and she had a very prosperous film career after these two films. But these are really the films that people remember for. So rest in peace, Melinda Dillon. In the sports booth, me and my boys this weekend, we were able to take in the Call of Duty Championships. It was a 4-day event. We were there for 2 days, the 2 main days to be there. Atlanta Faze took home the Call of Duty major win. They split up a prize pool of $500,000. These kids' parents were in the house. And just imagine, you're a parent of a kid who you probably told them years ago that they would amount to nothing if they kept playing video games. And here you are, you flew into Boston, your kid takes home a Call of Duty championship, and he's splitting $500,000 of the prize money. He's just made more over a video game. So it's insane. Methodz, Boston Breach's Methodz, announced retirement from the sport. He's like age 21 or 22. He's retiring from the sport. He's going into content media creation for YouTube and stuff, which means he's probably going to make a ton of money. Getting into the sports boost too, Bob Kraft wants Tom Brady to sign a 1-day deal to come back as a Patriot. We all know this is going to happen. Anybody who knows the NFLPA, players get a bonus when they retire with their team that they started with. Brady's coming back. It's kind of a no-brainer. It's about now, when will it happen, and what game will it happen? I would say probably the home opener is when that will happen. Also, Bill Belichick appeared on Tom Brady's podcast, Let's Go. They put a lot of things to rumors to rest, and I got to say this to all these people out.
Sit down.
Sit down, all you people out there who had this hateful relationship between Tom Brady and Belichick. Belichick was laughing on the show. He was a totally different guy on Tom Brady's show. They shared a story about them playing golf together on Pebble Beach. Now, Tom Brady decided to go down this side of this cliff to play it where it lies, and Belichick said in his mind, he's saying to himself, oh my God, if this guy gets hurt, gets killed, I'm here. I'm his head coach. And he really shouldn't be. It's great. If you haven't had a chance to listen to it, it's Let's Go podcast. It's Tom Brady talking about his retirement. Belichick is on. Gronkowski comes on. Peyton Manning comes on. Brady talks about how, there was this whole story that Belichick, there was like one of the stories. It was said that Brady hated being yelled at in front of the team during team meetings. And Brady and Belichick laughed and said, this is the funny thing is that this was all Brady's idea. Brady said that in order for me to lead and players to respect me, you've got to rip me apart. in practice, you've got to rip me apart in these meetings if I'm wrong. And he said this was all Brady because he said he felt Brady's a leader, Brady's a quarterback, but Brady felt it would help him be better. One of the other things they talked about that ended the debate was this whole debate about who's better and why they're successful. They both came on tonight and said the reason why they were so successful is because they both saw the game through each other's eyes and was able to put egos aside, work together and tell each other what they noticed between quarterback and head coach. And that's why they succeeded so much. And I'm happy to see this. Also, running back Arian Foster accused the NFL of being scripted. Players go wild on social media. But me and Ken, how long have we been putting this rumor out there in sports that we've talked about certain things and pointed out certain things that have happened that makes you sometimes think that X-Files cigarette smoking man is controlling all of the sports as we know it?
Yeah, I believe that about around the time we were still using outhouses for toilets.
Yeah, it's been a crazy time. And the Super Bowl's this weekend. Before we get into these guys' picks, BU researchers, for those who don't know, BU has been donned with this task from day one to study the brains of NFL players who pass away. This is not the story that the NFL wanted to hear. Out of 100% of the brains that BU has now tested of ex-NFL players, what percentage do you guys think they found had CTE? I'm going to start with our squid.
Oh, I don't know, 60%.
Ken?
I'm going around 80%.
92% of the brains that have been turned into the BU to study and confirm CTE, 92% of the brains. That's not good for the NFL. Not good at all. Not a story that they kind of wanted to come out, but perfect time to release it. Well, this weekend, Super Bowl 57. A lot of our teams have all fell short. I knew my guys weren't going to make it. The Giants, hell of a game. They got to the Eagles, and the Eagles just laid them to waste. I'm going to start with our squid because his team went the deepest this year. They closed it out against the Eagles. Who you like in the Super Bowl, man, this weekend? Eagles or Chiefs?
Yeah, I think the Eagles are only favored by about 1.5 points, so it's really a pick'em type of a game. I mean, look, these may be the two best performing teams in the NFL this year from their conferences. I don't think it's a fluke that this is what we have. I would give it to the Eagles. I think that when push comes to shove, as long as Hurts is playing, they struggled when he was out, but as long as he's playing, they seem to play at about 110%. And the Chiefs can be a little bit hot and cold, and that's all it's going to take, to come up short against this Eagle team. So I think it's going to be Eagles in a fairly close game, maybe about 5 points.
Ken, your thoughts?
I agree with Rob. I think it's going to be a very close game. I think it's going to be within a touchdown. I'm not sure if I'm going to go 5 points or 3. I would say it's within a touchdown. A couple of things that I think we need to look at. Number one, the Eagles' defense. I know their offense always gets all the credit, but their defense has been outstanding this year, and they came to play, especially in the NFC Championship. I was really impressed. Number two, I am sorry. I've said this before, and I know we get a lot of haters, so get it out of your system. Patrick Mahomes is not an elite quarterback. What he's got is an elite O-line. And when you saw it, no, seriously, he's a good quarterback. He's not elite. What he's got is got one of the, if not the best offensive line in the history of the NFL. It's got to be in the top 5. Okay? Because you saw it in that game. I mean, that game came down to the wire. Okay? Cincinnati, a couple more plays and a little less ref ball, and they would have won. And what you noticed in the first half, Cincinnati was not getting to Patrick Mahomes. In the second half, they were because the O-line was tired. I am sorry. If you look at the two halves, look how many completions did Patrick Mahomes have the first half versus the second half? How many rush passes did he have the first half versus the second half? Look at the amount of time he had to throw the ball in the first half versus the second half. I've been saying this for 5 years. Patrick Mahomes is not an elite quarterback. He's got an elite O-line and he's got an elite receiving core. And I'm sorry, Philadelphia is going to chew him out and spit him out. Chew him up and spit him out. And I am not an Eagles fan. Okay, let me tell you something. I do not like the Eagles. Never have, never will.
Well,
Okay?
which is it? Is it going to be chew them up and spit them out, or is it going to be a close game?
No, it's going to be a close game. No, understand. Let me actually rephrase. What I meant by chew him up and spit him out is he's not going to be able to have the game he has when he just dominates totally. He's going to have a lot less time. His throws are going to probably be a lot more checkdowns and a lot more short passes.
So you think a low-scoring game overall?
Oh, definitely. I think it's a low-scoring game. I'm thinking 3 touchdowns or less. Game of field goals. And remember, I am sorry. I mean, I watched both games, both the NFC and AFC games, which were great games. Don't misunderstand me. But the AFC game was decided by a field goal. And it hadn't been for the Chiefs getting that do-over, I think they would have gone to overtime. Now, whether the Chiefs would have won in overtime, God only knows.
Well, Linda DeMazzo is in the chat. Linda DeMazzo actually agrees with Ken. She says Mahomes is, and she puts in all caps, not an elite QB. Linda says in the chat. Steve Rita is in the chat. What's going on, Steve? Steve is actually donating one of his custom flags, and we're going to give one of those flags away on the 28th in celebration of Black History Month. So if you want to nominate someone in the community who's done their thing for Black History Month, please start your nominations tonight, because we're going to be picking a winner here on this show. For me, there's some things I agree with Ken, and we said it on this show. I want to say it was around the time of the trade deadline. Philadelphia made a humongous move. Now, they were already getting to the quarterback in Philadelphia, but then they made this signing and they grabbed Ndamukong Suh. And that was like week 11. And when you watched last week's game against this team, you watched them, and Ndamukong Suh goes in the fourth quarter. The fourth quarter was his first time in. That is death. That right there lets you know how deep this Philadelphia defense is. Mahomes has had 2 weeks for that high ankle sprain to get better. I think he'll be fine in the pocket. The problem here is can this O-line withstand this defensive line attack? When you're that deep, I got to give this game to Philly. I think they tire out the O-line. I think that defense just keeps coming. They think they keep mixing it up. And I think Andy Reid, unfortunately, will take a loss in this Super Bowl. As much as I love Andy Reid, I think Andy Reid's a great coach. I love Andy Reid. And I get it. He got a stiff deal from Philadelphia as a head coach. I get it. And I know everybody wouldn't want nothing better than to have him beat Philly. I just think defensively, they're not going to be able to keep up with them. I've got Philadelphia all the way in this game, not just because my son's a fan, but for those reasons right there. And I think their wide receivers might eke them out a little bit. I think Philadelphia's receiving core might be there. So moving on in the sports booth. So it looks like we all got Eagles, correct?
Yes.
Okay, sounds good. Also in the sports booth, guess what, guys? The ads this weekend, crypto, which we have been bombarded with for the last 2 Super Bowls, crypto is now, you won't see one crypto ad during the Super Bowl this year because of all the crap that's gone down with crypto. But beer ads and alcohol ads are back in full force, which is great because I think some of the beer ads and alcohol ads provide some of the funniest ads of our lifetime when it comes to Super Bowl. You go to Spuds McKenzie. Spuds McKenzie came from a Super Bowl ad and it lasted forever. So let's see. I'm going to see this weekend and we will be ready to go. Now, we've sped through the show. We are at 7:30. We're into the Biden bombshells. The first topic I got to get into these guys is something that began right after you guys were on last month. The first of the month you guys came on. It was that day after Biden's attorneys find documents and turn them in. And, you know, all of a sudden the right-wing MAGA people, they're going out of their minds. They're still going out of their minds because of it. The thing is here is there's a big difference. These weren't found by outsiders or someone of that. These were actually found by Biden's people, turned in by Biden's people. at the end of the day, it's all wrong. And we know that these people, all these politicians, all have some type of paperwork or something in their homes or something wherever that they should not have. But we are now up to not just President Trump, not just up to President Joe Biden when he was vice president. We also now have Vice President Mike Pence, who also had paperwork found. So now there is a task. The House Intelligence Group has come together, and they're going to put a whole assessment together of all of these documents that are found. And all three will, unfortunately, they'll be held accountable. I'm going to let R Squared start this off because this topic kind of started. Ken, it's asking me for you to enter the waiting room. You're already here.
I'm already here.
I'm not going to admit them because it's going to mess up the entire show. Go ahead, R Squared. I'm going to let you kind of talk about the differences between the classified documents found on Trump's property versus the Biden, and then the stuff that they found at Pence's, which really wasn't even that big of a deal, but it was still classified documents.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, only the investigations can determine exactly what was in any of these documents from any of the three people and any additional people that will suddenly come forward as having, let's say, protected documents in their possession. First of all, it's inexcusable that happened. I don't care who you are or how it happened. It's inexcusable. And the reason that it happens is because when they get to that level, they start taking special privileges. And so where, everybody else would have to go to the SCIF and read the documents and have three people witness the fact that they didn't take anything, these folks have stuff brought in a magic suitcase to their residences. And, there's obviously a lack of proper supervision, a lack of proper accountability, because none of them should have stuff. Now, in the issue with President Biden, obviously, some of it was in his library, so it was obviously located with some government, copies of government documents. There was nothing that was taken from the archives, just copies. And so, who knows what was in that, and then things in the house that go back 30 years. I can only imagine, but it's unfortunate. And same thing with Pence. They shouldn't be having this stuff. The difference, you asked me to say what the difference is. The difference with President Trump's documents is twofold. Number one is he knowingly took them and then actively tried to conceal them from the archives and from the FBI and from the federal government and from the American people. He claimed them to be all his property. Everything he touched while in office, he claimed to be his, and that's not what the law says. But he took anything he wanted to. And so these documents belong to the American people through the National Archives and for accountability purposes. So that's a much different scenario than these other people who found a handful of documents that, it's still going to be wrong that they have them, but at least, no one was looking for them. They didn't belong to the archives, and they turned them in themselves right away. In the case of Donald Trump, as we all saw, they had to spend 18 months trying to get these things once they knew about them. That's obviously not good. And then they had to do multiple searches because they kept trying to hide it like a shell game, move the documents around to different places so the authorities couldn't get them. And so you've got a much different situation, not to mention the fact that we know, at least by marking, not by substance, but we know that some of the documents that President Trump had were, top secret, and I think top secret SCI, even higher. And so for somebody who just left office, you can imagine that those were still very sensitive. The older something is, the more likely it's been downgraded in classification, if even, outright disclosed at that point. There obviously are documents that go back a very long time that remain, secret, top secret, what have you. But obviously the older, the more time passes, things become declassified or they get leaked to the public and then lose their classification that way. So it'll take a little bit more review the older the documents are, but the fact that President Trump took stuff right when he left the White House and in such great numbers, that's going to be a treasure trove of intelligence. It's just hopefully nothing got already distributed or whatever he was going to do with it.
And again, like we said, people, they're all going to have to answer for whatever documentation that they have. At the end of the day, they're all going to have to answer for whatever, and it doesn't really matter who found it, whose people found it, third party found it. The problem is that they had it, and that's what needs to be addressed. Go ahead, Ken. I see you shaking your head.
Yeah, I disagree. First of all, let's talk about two laws that I think we need to discuss. First of all, something called the Presidential Records Act, which Rob alluded to, which was passed after the Nixon administration to clarify who owns the document. They are the property of the United States government. And by that, the people of the United States. They are administered by the National Archives. That's the agency who is in charge of cataloging them, classifying them, and doing whatever. The second act we need to talk about is the National Security Act of 1947, which codified what you can do if you come across classified documents. And there is a safe harbor provision. If you are permitted to have documents in certain situations, and it turns out that you have them in other situations, there is a safe harbor provision that says, call up the responsible agency, hey, I have these documents. I shouldn't have them. Please send someone to collect them. And that's a safe harbor provision in both the President's Records Act and the National Security Act 1947. Both Pence and Biden did that. Both Pence and Biden said, found the documents, called up the respective agencies, said, come collect them. And that's the difference. Now, the question is Rob raised is, how did they wind up with the documents in the first place? If this was something that they were allowed to have outside a SCIF or outside of a secured area, that's one thing. The other thing is, whether if they were not allowed to have these documents, or documents were not allowed to be in a particular area, that's a whole different story. And I think that's what the investigations got to look into. Now, as for Trump, the reason why everyone got upset with Trump was because, number one, he initially claimed he didn't have any documents, remember?
Correct.
Now, here's the problem about that. You may not know this, but lying to an FBI agent, even if the lie is innocuous, is a federal offense. So when the FBI called him and said, do you have any documents, Mr. President? No, I don't, and then found out, that's a separate felony from possessing the documents themselves. Okay? So he lied about number one. Number two, he refused to cooperate with the agency whose property it is. So that's number two. So you're talking about two major felonies. And number three is, how did he have these documents? It's possible these documents were innocuously collected and put in boxes when they cleared out the White House. Possible. I don't know. I don't know what the investigation will show. I find it very unlikely, considering the fact that if you remember, the whole reason why Trump had all these documents supposedly was because he didn't want to move out until the very last minute, i.e. the January 6th coup attempt. But that's an issue for another day. Again, if I may quote the famous Watergate cliche, it's not the crime, it's a cover-up against you. And that's the main difference between Pence and Biden versus Trump.
And you know what? I remember R² saying when this whole first issue came up, the thing about this was that, and I believe he wrote about it on the Corridor, was that Trump was actually, because he was president, he was actually given time off the record behind the scenes. He was given a certain amount of time to turn this stuff in so it wouldn't be made into this big deal. And of course, his ego and everything. I remember R² saying, because he didn't do what he was asked behind the scenes, he was given some time and he didn't do it. And this is why we're here right now with this issue. I think I'm correct on that one. Correct, Rob?
Well, it is, because it goes back to the very fundamental question of what was his role in this. He did it intentionally. That makes it a much more serious offense and makes his case different from the other two that may have negligently maintained possession of something. We don't know if what they have in any case is, or what level classification it is, so we can't speculate as to where it should have been kept. But we know that apparently they turned in some stuff that they admitted they shouldn't have had. And so, they'll do an examination to see what that is. But it's different when you actively take and conceal and prevent the return of documents, which is what we know in abundance that President Trump did, former President Trump, because it's all in the official court paperwork. It's not from media speculation or people, you can read it in the official court documents. And so when people say, oh, his home was raided, all the Russia caucus, traitor caucus people that are running their mouths still, you've got, oh, they raided his home. No, they didn't raid his home. They waited 18 months for him to do something about returning the documents or negotiating a deal or something. And all he did was lie and conceal the documents. So after 18 months, they had no choice but to execute a search warrant, which is not a raid, by the way. They just executed a search warrant. They did it professionally, quietly, and nobody would have known except Trump made it public. So they didn't treat him any differently. If Vice President Pence or President Biden was found to be in possession of documents and did anything like that, as far as concealing it, refusing to turn it back, they would have had search warrants on their residences and offices as well. That wasn't the case. So everybody was being treated by the same standard. And so it just gets older and older and older to listen to these fools.
I disagree. I think that he was not treated like everybody else. I think he was treated more gingerly than everybody else. If you or I had found to have classified documents in our apartments or
yeah, I'm talking about compared to the other two.
Oh, okay, then yes.
And my other question to you guys is, I was thinking this too, and that when I saw the ones with Biden, the second batch, they were actually found in a beach house that Biden actually didn't really stay at. Hunter Biden actually stayed there. And when this investigation is all said and done, what if we find out that Biden had no knowledge of these papers and these papers were actually in Hunter Biden's possession? Is that something that they may find? Because nobody's...
No,
well, how did Hunter Biden get a hold of it?
Right. There's no reason
and that would be the
Biden
question.
would have had those. Yeah. Ken's right. That can't happen that way.
Okay.
I mean, unless Hunter Biden has been strictly working for the CIA all this time,
right,
as a case officer, without anyone knowing about it, he wouldn't have these documents.
Yeah, gotcha.
Classified documents. This isn't McDonald's or Burger King or a buffet. You don't go up to them and just scoop out documents you want. You got to have a need to know. All right, a reason to know this particular document, and then you have to have the appropriate. And Rob can probably testify this better than I can, because actually he has a security clearance. I had one many years ago when I interned at the U.S. Attorney's office. You have to have it. You have to have a security clearance. You have to have a security clearance level for the document, and then you have to have a reason for getting that document. You can't just walk in and say, "No, I'm curious. What's going on with the Syrian pipeline or the issue with Turkey?" You got to have a reason, and you sign them out. You are given these documents with your name and some kind of identifying number or identification, and so they know where it is and who has it, and then you return it. You sign it back in. So I can't imagine why Hunter Biden would have any reason to see these documents.
Gotcha. And that, because that's what they're also, people were kind of talking about, bringing up. I had somebody ask that in the chat. So we'll see. The assessment is going to begin. This committee that's been assigned to all of them. We will see. Hold on. Linda DeMazzo says it has been reported that Hunter has mentioned information in these documents to when dealing with China. No, that's not true. Hold
on a second.
Yep.
Just because these documents contain information that Hunter Biden mentioned, that doesn't mean anything. A document contains information that's generally known to the public. It's just in the document.
Gotcha.
The mere fact that what information are we talking about? Was this classified? Was this a weather report? I'll give you an example. I guarantee you that in the President's Daily Briefing book, they talk about where certain countries are geographically. Any Rand McNally atlas can give you that same information. It depends what information are we talking about.
Gotcha. Anything to add to that, R-Squid?
Well, I don't know what documents, if it's stuff that was on his personal laptop, then he would have business information related to any dealings with China, but it has nothing to do with the national security documents. They're two separate things. So I'm not sure.
This Linda is claiming that he had classified info. I didn't see any reports of that out there anywhere.
No, I have not heard anything on it. What classified information has she know?
Yeah, I haven't heard anything like that. That hasn't been confirmed by any site. If you've got a link or something, Linda, drop that in the chat. But we haven't heard anything that Hunter Biden had classified info. We didn't see anything of that sort at all. So if you got a link to a site that has that, you can post it. But we know that the government has all the information, all the paperwork, and they've got a committee now assigned to all three people involved in these classified documents scandal. There was just a story the other day that there was a sniper, a Marine, a sniper. Somebody called on him. I forget where he was living, but he had classified documents in his home, and now his house was raided, and he's under investigation. So she doesn't have a link. Well, if you find it, Linda, please share that on our page so we can check it out and see if it's valid. But as far as we're all concerned, at this time, we haven't heard anything. The question is going to be, is this topic even going to come up tonight in the State of the Address? I think they don't even talk about it. I think they glance it over, but we'll give our opinions on that because I'm going to talk. That's what we're closing out with tonight, is what we think is going to be the major point of discussion. One of the things I think is a discussion, and people are pissing me off and talking about this, but I'm confused over the story. So we've had 2 Chinese balloons. One came into the U.S. through the stream, the climate stream. It came down through Canada, through the Midwest. Then it became this story. The U.S. tracked it all the way into North Carolina because it followed the typical normal climate stream. And then once it got off the coast of North Carolina, the military shot it down. My feeling is that, okay, I saw a whole report from the FBI, and the FBI said that these balloons, which they've now found a second one in Latin America, are so common that they have hundreds and hundreds of reports every year on these stupid-ass Chinese so-called balloons that fly over the country. The FBI says it's more common than people realize. And my feeling is okay, if that's the case, and if the FBI is saying this, then why did Biden and his administration make this knee-jerk reaction and Austin sent a fighter over and shoot this balloon down? And I feel like this was a knee-jerk reaction to the public outcry. And I really don't want our administration making knee-jerk reactions to public outcries for something that's common. Because when I look at this story and I'm saying to myself, well, first of all, why would China use a weather balloon to spy when they have satellites in space, when they make drones in their country that are able to be used by Chinese spies who are probably in this country? So why would you do something as obvious as a weather balloon that is the width of 3 public transit buses? Squid, you're the military guy. Why was this a story? And should it have even been a story?
It probably shouldn't be a story, but then again, everything's a story because you've got so many news outlets with, desperate to fill airtime. And then you've got, members of Congress who are all too happy to run to the nearest camera and invent stories. So there's just all kinds of reasons, to cover it. At the end of the day, it's not a big deal is what the answer is. It's simply not a big deal. And so, you got the Russia caucus, the fascist caucus there that is running to the cameras about how we've sacrificed our national security to China and all this, huge thing. Well, here's the thing. There were 3 or 4 of them that flew over the country during the Trump administration, and not a single one of these fascists, not a single one of these Russia caucus people had anything to say about it because none of them were shot down or interfered with in any way. They just let them fly over. So I don't want to hear it from those people. Now, the other thing is, what was it? Now, what people need to remember is China has, if not the best, second best to ours, satellite system. They have a huge number of satellites up there, including very sophisticated spy satellites. They don't need balloons to spy on us, okay? Their satellites do a much, much better job. So if you're worried about intelligence, it isn't from the balloon, it's from the satellites because they're incredibly effective surveillance tools. Now, that doesn't mean we let a balloon go through. And so let's say for the sake of argument that these were non-surveillance balloons, weather balloons or whatever they claim they were, which we know is not true. And maybe that's why, we don't always shoot them down. But you know what? At some point, they send weather balloons over, and then the next time they put some cameras in there, they put some surveillance equipment in there because they think that we're not going to touch it. So you always have to check. You can't just assume that everything stays the same. And so it's possible because they knew something was there because they were jamming the signal. The Pentagon was jamming the signal, so it became mostly harmless anyway. And that's why it didn't have to be shot down immediately. They had the ability to wait a couple of days to do it, what they said was safely. I don't know about that, but certainly over the water would be less dangerous than if it, you don't want debris landing on people or homes or what have you. But what would it have done? Hit a few sheep in Montana? I don't know. But it seems like there was a way to maybe to do that where there wasn't a risk of damage. I'm not sure. Montana's a beautiful state, but there are a lot of wide open spaces there. So I don't know, maybe they did the right thing. I am not going to second guess the Pentagon. These are career people who make decisions like this and understand all the ramifications, and we're just speculating. So I support the ultimate decision to let it go over the water and then to shoot it down. Because even though, yes, it was because of some of this hysteria and it was easier to just do it than to be seen as not doing it, it's a lose-lose situation when you play to that crowd. But technically, it was a win-win situation because China didn't get any intelligence out of it, or really nothing much, nothing meaningful. And, maybe they send the balloon over there to give us a little bit of a bloody nose because we're doing freedom of navigation of the sea activities in the South China Sea to deny them their claim. We're following the law when we do that. The law says if you deny their claim of sovereignty to the entire ocean over there, then you sail through it to let them know that. We're following international law by doing it. But, China doesn't like it. So this may have been their way of, giving us, a little something to think about in exchange for those navigation to the sea activities that the Navy's doing. Who knows why? Maybe it was a test. I don't know what the hell they were testing because there was nothing to be afraid of. It's like when you're an older brother and your little brother, comes over and tries to poke at you. And then who gets in trouble when you act? You do, not the little brother who pokes you, right? Because you're so. You don't want to overreact when China does these things. At the same time, we want to let them know we're not playing. So I think that the administration handled it fairly well because there was no emergency. If there's no emergency, then don't rush, because when you rush, you fail. So I think ultimately they did it the right way. I'm sorry that there was all this hysteria that complicated things and probably did negatively impact their decision. But at the end of the day, it's a lost Chinese balloon. Maybe we'll get something. I don't know. I mean, that fell from really high up there. I don't think they're going to find any workable pieces, but who knows? Maybe they will, and that'll be great.
Steve Rita's in the chat. Steve Rita says, what if they sent the bomber over? That's a totally different. Bombers and balloons are two different things, Steve.
Yeah, we would never let a bomber get into our airspace.
Ken, go ahead.
Okay, I talked to a friend of mine who was a retired Air Force officer and worked in intelligence for 20 years.
We know who.
We know who. I can't mention his name because he gave me a couple of things. He said, first of all, he knows that the Pentagon knows exactly what the balloons were doing and has nothing to do with us. What they were doing was, again, I am not an engineer and I'm not a missile expert, but apparently one of the ways you test flight patterns for missiles and how air currents is to send up balloons like that. China was testing basically how these balloons would, if they ever wanted to bomb Taiwan or mainland United States. This was a methodology of testing their missile things. Number two, as Rob said, we blocked the I forget what the thing is, the telemetry, is that the right term, Robert?
Yes, we blocked the signal.
We do it. And so they got nothing out of it. And number three, there's a very good reason why they shot it over the water. And I didn't think of this, and shame on me because I'm a lawyer. Right of salvage. If we had brought the balloon down inside the United States, the Chinese would have the right to claim to ask to get that equipment back to them because it's their property. If we shoot over the ocean, we have no such obligation. The Chinese can go dig through the ocean if they want it. So that's a very clever thing to do. We don't want to give it back to them. We shoot over the ocean and have the Chinese go find it, which they're not going to do. Okay. And by the way, according to my friend, the Russians and the Chinese and us have been doing this since the Cold War.
Yep,
yeah,
of course.
Since the 60s. Since the 60s.
This is brand new. This is, guys, we've been doing this.
It's not.
That's what I said. That's what I said. I'm like, this isn't something new, people.
Oh, by the way, in case you didn't know it, and here's some interesting history. If you got a second, the Japanese pioneered something called balloon bombs in World War II. It's the only time the continental U.S. was attacked. And these were balloons that brought over incendiary devices and dropped them in the Pacific Northwest. To combat that, we sent in the Triple Nickel, the 555th Airborne Battalion. And that was unique because they were all African Americans. They were completely African American, and they were sent in, they were parachuted in to deal with forest fires. That unit became the grandfather or the father of the smoke jumpers, which are still used today to combat forest fires. There's your Black History Month little history for you.
Good stuff. Steve Rita said only if it's and that would, like Ken just explained, they shoot it over the ocean. You only have to be so far off the coast before you're in international waters. I know that for a fact because I got married on a boat and we had to stay within the coordinates, and my coordinates of my wedding was actually in the ocean because the captain had to give the coordinates to the preacher. The preacher had to have those coordinates for the marriage license. Steve Rita says, we don't know what info China got from it. Well, Oscar just said, they were jamming. Yeah, they were jamming, but they know. So, we will find out. And let's see here. We got about 4 minutes left of the show, but we still got 2 more Biden topics I got to get into with these guys. I tabled this topic. R-Squared was very vocal about this. Biden actually sent these Bradley fighting vehicles, and they also sent 30 of the M1 Abram tanks out of South Carolina about 2 weeks ago to head over to Ukraine. There was this whole back and forth because they really didn't want to send it. There was a big group of Biden's administration who didn't want to send this stuff over. And Osquid, you kind of felt that he was kind of forced to make this decision. So I kind of wanted to clarify with you on this and why this was such a big deal and why this came down. The Pentagon was real hot on getting this done.
Yeah, there are other tanks that they could get, but of course none of them are better than the Abrams. So it sends a message. It is a little bit more powerful. And the Germans really wanted clearance because of I don't know if I believe this as genuine or not, but it's an interesting historical argument, which, they're saying the fear of German tanks running to east, was going to evoke images of World War II and the Nazis invading the East. And I'm just thinking, I don't think anybody would confuse Germany's intentions right now with what happened under Hitler. So I don't know. I don't think they should at all be concerned about that. I think that was, a colorful excuse maybe. But nevertheless, Germany wanted top cover because most of the tanks that were going to be sent were the Leopard tanks that they make. And so they wanted the United States to at least send a ceremonial number of Abrams tanks so that they could feel comfortable sending the German Leopard tanks, which are the most effective ones to send to Ukraine anyway. So that part kind of worked out. What people don't understand is it's not like the tank lands, and you ship it to the front lines and then you just start shooting. You've got to train people to use these things. The Ukrainian military has not trained on either the Abrams or the Leopard tanks, so they're going to have to get training. It's not like just, it's not an easy thing. It's harder than learning how to drive a car, and there's a lot more that goes into it, obviously. So,
and there was someone from the Pentagon there 2 weeks ago. The Pentagon had somebody over there.
They will be providing the training, but what I'm saying is it's going to take a while before you get tank crews because you have to train a whole bunch of tank crews so that you can operate them. So that's going to take time. You also, at the same time that you're training the crews, you have to train their maintenance people. And of course, mechanics, look, if you ever get your car serviced, some people learn how to do basic car stuff themselves. I guarantee you can't learn basic tank maintenance that quickly.
No,
so
you have to be,
You've got to spend considerable effort to do the training of that. Then you have to send them spare parts because guess what? Breaks down. You've got to have the spare parts or else your tank is stuck in the middle of nowhere and it's a sitting duck. So you've got to have the training, the maintenance, the spare parts, and then you also have to have the munitions. And those obviously fire a very specific kind of munition. And so they have to get those, but not only they have to get those, they have to get a decent stockpile of them because once they start using the tank, you've got to be able to restock the weaponry. And so you've got to have a stockpile nearby with the logistics ability to deliver it. So that's why this takes a long time. It could take months. It could take a year before they're actually using the Abrams tanks. And so that might be the fastest time frame they can do it. So, fine. If that's what we need to do to move things along, that's great. But at the same time, they need some immediate fixes too. I mean, this is a long-term solution. If Russia starts this anticipated invasion, this offensive right now, which it looks like they're preparing to do, then that's going to be a major hostility before the tanks are ever close. I mean, the Ukrainians are going to have to fight with what they have now and munitions coming in, but not any more major systems until, this fight is going to be well into the summertime and beyond before they're going to get this new equipment. So
and I saw a report. I saw a report on Vice, and things aren't faring well for Russia either because of the fact that Putin took all these guys out of the Russian prisons and put them on the front lines, which, it adds numbers body-wise, but these guys aren't trained. These guys, and we've had issues with friendly fire that are coming out of Russia now. Friendly fire. There were some reports that this missile strike on the Ukrainian apartment was because the person who fired that missile from that launcher was not properly trained.
Oh, no. That was intentional.
You think so?
They have been doing. How many hundreds of missiles have they launched intentionally at hospitals, apartments, schools, electrical plants, power? So why would this all of a sudden be a mistake? They've already done 100 apartment buildings. This is the 101st one wasn't the mistake. Of course they intended it, because they've intended it 100 more times already. They have committed an uncountable number of war crimes, crimes against humanity, crimes of aggression, all the same stuff we saw in World War II, just without the Nazis in it, although really they're fundamentally similar.
So those bullying tactics. So you believe that's still believe that's those bullying tactics. So that's good. And I wanted to clear that up because, there's some things that come back and, and I know there are some stories out there that are related to these guys that Putin put out there as being untrained, and it's sad. It's kind of scary. Ken, you want to add to that with the military vehicles heading over?
I agree with everything Rob said, 100%.
Cool. And Linda DiMaggio, she says we shouldn't even be there. Unfortunately, Linda, it's not a we. It's not us being there. It's the world came together as one to fight this, and like he just said, Germany is sending tanks. We're all part of a collective in this whole thing. This isn't just the USA is over there helping the Ukraine. There's a ton of other countries that Russia didn't even think would help the Ukraine that are over there helping the Ukraine, which is why he's having such a tough fight as he is over there, because he didn't get the backing that he thought he was going to get. Linda said, Biden left billions of equipment in Afghanistan. Why would we want to leave more behind when we pull out? That's a whole different debate there. But I got to get in. I got 8:03. We got to get into this last topic. Again, the State of the Union is tonight, people. And Linda and all you guys who have these questions for Biden and things of that sort, some of these things may come up in this discussion tonight. State of the Union is tonight. I'm sure the Ukraine is going to come up because, again, we're sending these vehicles over. More money was approved to go over there, so I'm pretty sure that's going to come up. Will the balloons come up in this State of the Union? Will the documents? I'm not expecting the documents to come up. Like I said, they've now assigned a committee to overlook the assessment of all these documents of all three people involved. I don't think we're going to see that mentioned in the State of the Union. I think we're going to see the balloons touched on. We actually have a person from Brockton who's supposed to be featured at the State of the Union tonight. She's from Haiti, and I forget what she's done, but she's supposed to be recognized by Joe Biden tonight at the State of the Union. But it is tonight. I'm going to let these guys talk because R Squared, you say it best about people being informed.
Okay. I'll try to keep it quick because I want Ken to have something to say, and then we can go back and forth maybe. But first, I never have high expectations. You've heard me speak about the State of the Union on the show before because obviously it's an annual thing and we talk about it. I've been watching every State of the Union since Ford because I've always thought that it was this big deal and we should all watch it and we should hear what's going on and this, that, and the other thing. And obviously, going back to that era and as it becomes televised and then it becomes this big thing. And now we have the rebuttal speech. And so the value of it has gone significantly down while the length of it has gotten quite long. And, Bill Clinton gets made fun of for some of the longest State of the Unions. But there are multiple presidents that go through this laundry list of stuff. It's not really a State of the Union address anymore. It's really a political statement about, here's what we've done in the last year, and here's what we're going to do next year, rather than a traditional State of the Union. That's why the other side gets a rebuttal. And it's just completely out of control. You've got the standing and you've got the clapping, and while the other side is sitting. And now apparently it's become okay. We've become such a rude enough society that it's okay to heckle the State of the Union, that there's actually anticipated heckle points where we know certain members of the Russia caucus are going to stand up and shout down something the president says, just because it's planned in their script to do that, not because they have any profound objection, especially because they know the truth behind things. But what's interesting is that not only has that now become acceptable, that's awful that that's what's going to become normal, but it's acceptable, and they do it knowing it's rude and inappropriate and unprofessional, because they're going to raise a ton of money from doing it. I can't believe that, but that's what we've become right now. So I go
Wait a
back
minute,
to my first point.
hold on. So you're talking about when people like Marjorie Taylor Greene and Lauren Boebert do these orchestrated shouting out things. Lauren Boebert did it during the time that they were recognizing a sniper, and they were asking for more money for veterans, and her and MTG got up. So you're trying to say that they get money into their...
A ton of it. They send out a solicitation the minute it's over and asking for money. Like, look what I just did. I shouted down the liberals. I did this, I did that. And they raise tons and tons of money by being rude.
Whoa! I just thought
that's what our politics.
I just thought they were being idiots. I didn't know that money was behind
this.
They're making
money off it.
Holy!
They're making money off of idiocracy.
Because it goes viral. When they do these stupid things, it's instantly viral. Millions and millions of views.
That's the secret. That's what they do.
Holy shit! That's insane. Ken?
Unfortunately, Rob stole my thunder. Yeah, everything he says is absolutely true. No problem.
What do you think the president's going to do tonight? I didn't touch on that. I was saving that.
Well, I think the president is talking about three major things. To quote Bill Clinton, it's the economy, stupid. He's going to talk about the economy.
Of course.
He's going to talk about our conflicts globally, but especially in Ukraine. And I think he's going to try to pour some oil unsuccessfully about the current political climate, about how we've become, instead of talking to each other, we're talking at each other. I think he's going to try that. I think he's going to fail miserably because the Russia caucus is going to let him. They're making money off of it. There's one of your favorite movies, the Heath Ledger Batman movie. Remember the scene where Alfred's talking to Bruce Wayne and he says, some men just want to watch the world burn.
Mm-hmm.
That's what these people want. They have no agenda. They have no plan. They just want to watch the world burn. And Rob's absolutely right. And this is a great thing for them. They just want to watch the world burn. I mean, seriously, if I may, the debt ceiling negotiations are coming up, and Mike McCarthy wants certain concessions. Can you name one of the concessions that he wants? I can't. And I looked. Not one Republican has come out and said, if Biden does this, this, and this, I'm voting for raising the debt ceiling. Tell me three things they want as major concessions. I mean, not just, cutting the budget or, literally means, give me the line of the budget, the program they want cut. Not one Republican has said that. Why? Because they don't want any programs cut. They just want to have the argument with. They want to take it to the libs. They want to own the libs.
Linda DiMaggio says Kevin McCarthy has warned the GOP not to do this tonight. So we'll see. We'll see, Linda.
Excuse me.
We'll see.
Excuse me. This is the guy who couldn't get elected speaker, even with Donald Trump's help, until the 15th ballot, Rob?
Something like that.
Yeah. Let's put it this way. I've got more control over my brother and sister-in-law's cats than he does over his own damn caucus. And by the way, the cats hate me.
Yeah, I mean, look, the temptation is, despite anything he may have said, and maybe he said something, who knows, but despite anything he may have said, the money is out there for these folks that are already demonstrating the lack of character that it takes to be that way. Marjorie Taylor Greene and Lauren Boebert and Jim Jordan and, some of the other fools.
Matt Gaetz.
So Matt Gaetz especially. Yeah, well, so the point is the money's there, and it doesn't matter even if the speaker said something about it. It's not going to matter because they're chasing $1 million.
Well, before we get out of here, I got to thank everybody for tuning in the show. I got to show you guys my supporters with the beanies, Sinister One beanies. Check those out. The shows that I produce as of tomorrow night, people. As of tomorrow night, Drafting the Circuits will be live every Wednesday night at 8 o'clock, produced by your boy Sinister One. Drafting the Circuits, NASCAR talk, NHRA talk. It's going to be F1 talk, IndyCar talk. We had the Clash this past weekend. We got Daytona 500 coming up, and your boy Sinister One is at the helm of production. Live Drafting Circuits tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Join us. Also, February 11th, Beast from the East event that's coming up at the Alchemy. She's actually in the chat. I seen her there. Infamous Ma, she's in the chat. Check her out. Also, Black History Skate Night at the February 25th. That's going to be here in Whitman. Also, your boy Sinister One, Matty Cameron from Matty C Sports for You and Me, and his wife Cameron Photography. We are covering the BPR, Professional Bull Riders Velocity Tour, coming in February 25th. It's in 2 weeks. That's why the ad was playing before the show. We got to thank the PBR for the invite for coming out there. It's going to be a great event. Also, Steve Rita, who's in the chat. Steve Rita is giving a flag away for Black History Month. So please, please, please nominate someone who's deserving. And on the 28th, whoever has the most nominations, we will be presenting them. They will get a flag from Steve Rita for Black History Month. And then we have the Strength in Numbers event, which is March 3rd. Infamous Ma, who was on the show last week. And also this weekend, as you saw the ad, Viana Marie performing live in Pawtucket, Rhode Island. And I got to thank my guys for coming on here. So I'm going to let these guys say their goodbyes. So I'm going to start with Ken Diesel.
Want to thank all of our listeners, all 12 of you, guys, gals, others. Be safe, be warm, be dry. Take care of yourself. Take care of others.
Squared.
Hey, good night, everybody. Another great discussion, and hope it was worth your time. And we'll see you next month.
And again, you guys blew me away. I didn't know that when these idiots are screaming and yelling, I didn't know that they get this money for doing this, and it's just a shame. It just shames me and pisses me off even more. You know, and I'm just upset by it. So I'll be tuned into the State of the Union address tonight to see and go from there. And Maki, Infamous Ma, she said, I learned some things tonight. LOL. Well, thank you for tuning in to the show. And everybody, all I got to say is SpongeBob, do me a favor, take us home.
Well, see you next Tuesday.
Thank you for listening to The Booth on Hoobazoo and HatcherRadio.com.
All right, guys.
Please follow the Facebook page and subscribe to the podcast at Apple Podcast, iHeartRadio, and Spotify. The Booth is a Sinister One production hosted by Sinister One.
I've got to start hanging out with friends that are a little more intelligent and understand politics and stuff. It's just that I'm up on this level up here, and all my friends are down here. Me, nah. You guys, nah. Maybe a little more down in here. Screw you guys, I'm going home.
I smoke, I drink, I do my thing. These bitches hating, so you know I got to make it plain. Don't do cocaine with your chick, my main. We stick together, true forever, yeah, you know we bang. I miss those days, which was easy. If only I made it, bitch, don't repeat. Now that I done upgraded, I've been upstate, and y'all think I'm playing. And I got a hit now for these weak ass hoes who think I ain't slaying. Try me, and I'll probably end up laughing, cause I never back down. I'm that chick with a clean ass whip, I don't need that shit, I got my own now. I get hard, I get tired of fussing, fighting, guess I gotta crack down. Don't mess with me, cause on everything, I'ma have to bring the whole city out.
WHOOBAZOO, that's Hoobazoo.com.
Enter website.